The ghost ship SS Aurang Medan Episode 1, the distress call. The radio operator's fingers trembled as he adjusted the knobs on his equipment. The signal was weak, crackling with interference, but the voice on the other end was unmistakably human. And terrified. Mayday! Mayday! All officers including captain are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. Silence followed. Then, one final chilling transmission. I die. And then nothing. The message was picked up by multiple ships navigating the waters of the Strait of Malacca, a busy yet treacherous passage between Sumatra and Malaysia. Those who heard the call debated its authenticity, but something about the desperation in that last phrase sent shivers down their spines. One of the ships, an American vessel named the Silver Star, immediately changed course. The coordinates provided by the distress call were vague, but after several tense hours of searching, they spotted a dark silhouette against the horizon. There, adrift on the rolling waves, was the SS Aurang Medan. It showed no signs of damage, no smoke rising from its decks, no lifeboats missing. But something was wrong. The ship was eerily still, as though it had been abandoned or worse. As the Silver Star's crew prepared to board, none of them knew they were about to step into one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. The ghost ship SS Aurang Medan Episode 2, the silent deck. The Silver Star's crew approached cautiously, their small boat rocking against the gentle swells of the sea. The Aurang Medan loomed over them, its steel hull lifeless under the midday sun. From a distance, the ship looked completely intact. No signs of distress, no smoke, no damage. Yet, something felt off. As they pulled alongside, the silence became unnerving. A ship at sea was never truly silent. There were always the sounds of wind through the rigging, the creak of wooden planks, the occasional shout of crewmen going about their duties. But here nothing. Ladders were lowered, guns holstered at their sides. The Silver Star's boarding party climbed aboard. The moment their boots touched the deck, a heavy stillness settled over them. The air was stifling, thick with something they couldn't quite identify. Then, they saw the first body. A sailor lay sprawled near the railing, his face frozen in a rictus of pure terror. His wide, unseeing eyes stared upward, his mouth locked open as if in a final, silent scream. His arms were outstretched, fingers curled as if clawing at something unseen. One of the men swore under his breath. Another made the sign of the cross. As they moved deeper into the ship, more bodies appeared. The crew of the Aurang Medan lay exactly where they had fallen on the bridge, in the hallways, even in the engine room. All of them had the same expression of horror, as if they had died witnessing something unspeakable. But there was something even more disturbing. Not a single body had any visible wounds. No blood. No signs of struggle. No indication of what had killed them. And then they found the radio room. The operator was still in his chair, slumped over the equipment. His fingers were locked around the radio, as if he had used the last of his strength to send that final, desperate message. His face, too, was frozen in that ghastly expression of fear. But before the Silver Star crew could make sense of the horror before them, something else caught their attention. A strange, acrid smell began to fill the air. And then, without warning, the temperature seemed to rise. Something was happening to the ship. Something unnatural. The ghost ship SS Aurang Medan Episode 3, the rising heat. The heat was suffocating. At first, the crew of the Silver Star thought it was just the oppressive tropical sun reflecting off the ship's metal hull. But within minutes, the temperature aboard the Aurang Medan was rising unnaturally fast, far beyond what should have been possible. One of the men wiped sweat from his brow. "This ain't normal," he muttered. The acrid smell that had begun to fill the air grew stronger. It was sharp, chemical, almost metallic. The men exchanged uneasy glances. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Then, deep within the ship, a metallic clang echoed through the silent corridors. The men froze. Had someone or something survived? Guns drawn, the search party moved toward the source of the sound. They passed more corpses, all locked in their deathly grimaces, but still, no sign of what had killed them. Finally, they reached the entrance to the cargo hold. The metal door was hot to the touch. One of the sailors hesitated. "We shouldn't open it," he warned. But curiosity and duty pushed them forward. The door creaked open. A wave of blistering heat poured out, forcing them to recoil. They squinted into the dim space beyond. The hold was filled with crates, some shattered, their contents spilled across the floor. Among the wreckage were corroded metal canisters, their lids ajar. A thin mist hung in the air, shimmering in the sweltering heat. Then, without warning, bang! A sudden explosion rocked the ship. A deep, guttural roar, like fire igniting in a confined space, thundered through the hull. The Silver Star's men staggered backward, choking as a wave of scorching air swept through the corridors. "The ship's gonna blow," someone shouted. Panic set in. The crew scrambled, abandoning their investigation. They ran for the ropes, for the ladders, anything to get back to their own ship. As the last man leapt from the Aurang Medan's deck, a low, eerie rumble filled the air. And then the Aurang Medan exploded. A ball of fire erupted from its core, sending debris skyward. The shockwave rocked the Silver Star as its crew watched in horror. Within seconds, the ghost ship was consumed by flames. Then, as if dragged into the abyss, it sank beneath the waves, leaving behind only charred wreckage and unanswered questions. What had happened aboard the Aurang Medan? What had killed its crew without leaving a mark? And what was inside those mysterious canisters? The truth, it seemed, had gone down with the ship. The ghost ship SS Aurang Medan Episode 4, Theories and Cover. UPS. The crew of the Silver Star watched in stunned silence as the Aurang Medan disappeared beneath the waves, taking its deadly secrets with it. The ocean bubbled and frothed where the ship had sunk, then nothing. The sea was calm once more, as if the ghost ship had never existed. But the questions remained. What had killed the crew? Why had their faces been frozen in terror? And what was in that cargo hold that caused the ship to explode? The men of the Silver Star had no answers, only a deep, unsettling feeling that whatever had happened aboard the Aurang Medan was something not meant to be uncovered. A forbidden cargo? In the years that followed, theories about the Aurang Medan's fate spread like wildfire. Some believed it had been carrying something highly toxic, perhaps nerve agents or experimental chemicals left over from World War II. According to one theory, the ship had been secretly transporting a deadly chemical weapon, possibly cyanide or mustard gas, meant for a black market deal. A small leak could have poisoned the entire crew, causing hallucinations, suffocation, or even cardiac arrest, explaining the expressions of sheer terror frozen on their faces. But if that were true, who had sent the distress call? And what caused the explosion? The paranormal connection. Some refused to believe a rational explanation could account for the horror aboard the Aurang Medan. Instead, they turned to the supernatural. Ghostly apparitions. A curse. A brush with an unseen entity. One theory suggested that the crew had encountered something not of this world, perhaps an ancient force from the depths of the ocean or even extraterrestrial in nature. Eyewitness reports claimed that, before its destruction, a strange mist had been seen rising from the Aurang Medan. Some sailors believed that whatever had killed the crew had not been human. A government cover-up? But perhaps the most unsettling theory of all was that the Aurang Medan was never meant to be found. Some researchers pointed out that no official records of the ship existed. There was no registered owner, no manifest, no documented journey. It was as if the Aurang Medan had simply appeared and then vanished without a trace. Was it part of a covert operation? A secret wartime experiment gone wrong? Had the explosion been deliberate, an effort to erase evidence of what really happened? Whatever the case, the truth was buried at sea, lost to history. But even today, sailors crossing the Strait of Malacca whisper of a ghostly ship that appears on misty nights, a spectral vessel, drifting silently through the waves, its crew still trapped in an endless moment of terror. They call it the Phantom of the Aurang Medan. And perhaps, somewhere in the darkness, it is still waiting to tell